Welcome to Women Should Know, the podcast and online show that dives into conversations that every woman needs to hear. From career to confidence, relationships, and real life wisdom, we're keeping it unfiltered, raw, and real. I'm Nicole Hurst. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies. Welcome to Women Should Know podcast and show. I am here with Erin Anderson today. She is a business and boundaries coach. We're going to get into it. So, Erin, tell us a little bit about yourself today.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah,
So I am a mom of 6 kids, a dog, 2 cats, 28 chickens.
you do it all. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we've got a little mini farm here, and we grow all kinds of fun things, including kids. So, yes, we totally do that here. And I also run a six-figure, scaling to seven-figure coaching business.
Yes.
And so, a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And on top of that, and one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about like boundaries and business and things like that is because I actually started out as like a coach for women who have gone through betrayal trauma
Oh, uh-huh.
because I've been there, I've done that. I have totally done the sucky kind of stuff. Have gone from, deep, deep depression, like can't get out of bed, can't take care of my kids, to like thriving, loving life, creating more money than I knew what to do with. And all because of the same concepts that I teach people. And it really comes down to our boundaries. And this is why I'm really passionate about it, is because it's also a concept that's not well taught.
Yeah, I agree. And I know I said right before we jumped on, like, I love boundaries. I'm a business owner. And I feel like without those boundaries, I would be like chaos all the time. I feel like you have to have certain
Right.
boundaries, especially in business, but in your personal lives too, which I'm sure we'll jump into. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to chat with you. Um, so what was your biggest like aha moment when it came to boundaries in your, let's start with your personal life, if you want to talk
Yeah.
about personal life
Yeah,
stuff too.
no,
Okay.
no problem. Like
Okay.
I completely can talk about personal stuff. My husband's a great guy, but I'll tell you, there have been times I've wanted to kill the man, right? Like, and honestly, like what mom, what wife out there has not wanted to really, really shake their kids or their husband at some point? Like, come on, get with the program, right? But one of the biggest things is my husband dealt for years and years and years with a pornography habit that caused a lot of tension in
Yeah.
our marriage, right? And actually, a lot of my depression, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of my depression was due to that, feeling like I wasn't worth it, feeling like I wasn't good enough, right?
Yeah.
And I realized, like, really, really short story, or long story made short, I'll say that. Um, I realized that's not the life I wanted to live.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely was not what I wanted to live. This is not what I wanted to have in my life. I wanted a family where, mom and dad didn't divorce. I wanted my kids to be able to see mom and dad be happy. I wanted my kids to grow up in prosperity. I wanted them to have emotional stability. I wanted that, right?
Yeah.
But if I sit here and I keep putting things on other people, like my husband, yes, his healing is all up to him. Like, I'm all
Yeah.
for that, right?
Yeah.
But if I kept putting my dream on him to achieve it, it would never be achieved because it's not his dream.
And then even if it was, it wouldn't be the same, right? Like, because again, it's not his dream, it's yours.
Exactly. Exactly, right? It's mine. And even though like my husband does in a lot of ways want those same things, his pornography habit was an act of self-sabotage, and I kept getting drug into it over and over and over again. And this is why I say that boundaries are not well defined, because we talk about it as we set a boundary with someone else, right?
Yeah.
Like against someone else. There's a wall there, there's space, there's this distance, right? And that's not a boundary at all. Honestly, it's not.
Yeah.
A boundary is about you choosing who you are, what you value, what you love about yourself, and you're not going to act outside of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
For anyone, for anyone. And once I figured that out, my language changed, the way I showed up changed, right? My kids are healthier, my husband is healthier and happier all around, and my business is scaled to six figures, right? So
Well,
it's
and I
like,
love that because I feel like it is like having your own integrity. Like these are
yes,
what I'm willing to work within, and I'm not going to work with outside my integrity. So yeah,
yes, exactly. See, and we talk about boundaries in a very or life, I should say, even in a very interesting way when we're being talked to, like when people are talking to us and they're like, oh, I just felt hooked in. Like I feel like I'm so scattered or I'm being pulled apart in so many directions. Well, that's all boundary issues, right? And at some point, our nervous system shuts down. We go into trauma or high stress mode, right? And that's no way to, for especially for a female entrepreneur to live her life at all, right? Because
yeah,
we need to be able to focus. We need to be able to get in and create. We need to be able to trust. We need to be able to lean into things. This is the way the female entrepreneur creates cash and those six, seven figure businesses, right? That's how she does it.
yeah.
Well, if we don't have boundaries, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna piddle out within just the first month, honestly.
I
You
mean,
know,
and when it
I
comes to business, I feel like the burnout is so like prevalent because people aren't setting up these boundaries. Like I no longer do this. Like I'm going to hire this out because like it will cause me burnout if I keep doing stuff that isn't helping my energy or if it's making me
yeah.
like feel down
Yeah.
about my business or whatever. So yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, I talk about it as like the princess and the pauper energy. And a lot of times too, other people talk about it as the feast or the famine, right? But think about the princess and the pauper. Here's the princess. She has a set of rules that she lives by, right? She has a certain wardrobe. She looks a certain way. She speaks a certain way. She acts a certain way, and she's a princess. Then we have the pauper down here who's sitting there like, "Hey, governor," right?
Yeah.
She might be letting off some farts or whatever, right? When these two switch roles, they're both going to feel very, very out of place. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Because they have a different identity, right? We identify, like the princess identified as a princess. She might be going down to like the pauper level and being like, hey, you, bring me my breakfast. And somebody's going to be like, get your own dang breakfast, right?
Yeah.
You have two hands. Whereas the pauper's going to be going up to the princess level and saying, hey, governor, right? Hey, I need to go use the loo. Right? Like, can you imagine a princess acting this way? And
Yeah.
so when we act inside of our values, if we're valuing family, if we value respect, we value um, all these pieces of ourselves, right? If we value those things, it's really hard for somebody to come in with their emotional hooks or even some people who want to manipulate us because hello, we're entrepreneurs. We've got success on our minds. We've got places we're going to go, places we want to see, things we want to do. And that really, really, really scares people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know for me personally, I love a lot of people in my life, but my success has been threatening to some of the people I love the most,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Being an entrepreneur can be very like alienating. You can feel very lonely at times. So yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
you absolutely can, but if you love yourself, it's really hard to feel lonely,
Yeah.
right? Because you think about this too. Like, this is another thing I talk to people about all the time. You can leave your husband, this is just worst case scenario, by the way. You can leave your husband, you can leave your kids, you can leave your neighbors, you can leave your dog, you can leave your cat. Heck, you can even leave God, right? The one person you can never leave is you,
Yeah.
right?
They're stuck with you.
You are absolutely always and forever, for eternity, stuck with you. And again, like worst case scenario, say you commit suicide, right? you're just separating yourself from your body. You're still stuck with you
Yeah.
with forever. So if you don't like yourself, that's a problem,
Yeah.
right? But if you love yourself, you have your back, right? You
Yeah.
can use boundaries and say, oh, that's not necessarily true for me, right? And you can stay within your lane. And when you stay in your lane, it's a lot like saying, I have this destination I want to achieve, right? So say like I say I want to hit seven figures. I actually have been saying this. I'm Erin Anderson. I'm a seven-figure business coach. I drive a Ford Explorer, and I take my family on amazing vacations, right? Because that's what I'm creating this year. And so I keep saying it to feel the energy of it.
Yeah.
And so the more I do that, the more I realize what that person looks like. What does that person value? How do they feel, right?
Yeah.
How do they operate? And I start seeing the distance, like where I need to go, how I need to start showing up in life even more. Like being visible on other people's podcasts. Go figure. That was one of the things I was like, what? Right? Because
Yeah.
seven figures, that's a heck of a lot of visibility. Let's just
Yeah.
say that, right?
Yeah.
Um, being a seven-figure business coach, that's also having to get really, really honest with myself again, right?
Yeah.
There's getting rid of the people pleasing even more. There is setting even stronger, deeper boundaries, like really, really getting into this seven-figure uh trench, I want to say.
Yeah.
And when you get into what you say you want to be because you value it, you love it, you're excited about it, this is you. It is impossible for you not to achieve that goal. It takes you straight there,
Yeah.
right? And so this is why boundaries also work in our businesses, is because it is you. It is somebody who has their own back.
Um, yeah, I agree. Why do you think so many women struggle with setting boundaries in their business?
Oh, lots of reasons. Again, because of the misunderstanding of what boundaries are, right? Like, okay, I gotta say, I have a friend, um, who works with the guys like since I've been doing like helping women but with betrayal trauma and healing that trauma, then moving into like business and boundaries coaching because I feel like that's definitely more of what my clients are looking for. But I've met a lot of people along the way and a lot of colleagues and a lot of great friends, right? But I have a colleague and a friend who helps the guys through the pornography habit, and he's fabulous at it. But there's one problem with his coaching, and he actually just sent out an email, and I'm sitting here like, dude, you don't get boundaries at all. Because he's saying, if you want boundaries with people that you don't want in your life, set them. But if you want boundaries with people, or if you want people in your life, certain people, don't set boundaries with them. And I'm like,
That's not
no,
how it works.
that's
Yeah.
not how it works. And again, it's because it's a misunderstanding. That's that idea that I'm here and you're over here, right? That there's a fence, that there's space, there's distance between us. That's that idea. Or that boundaries are mean, or maybe they even do understand a little bit about a boundary, but moving into that new space is scary because of what are people going to think? How's mom going to react? Like, how's my husband going to react? Like, they're thinking about their relationships or their clients. Maybe I'm going to lose this client base if I move this direction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all these fears. But when you realize a boundary is just simply where you live, yeah, there might be a fence line around you, right? But that's important because if there's no fence and you're just letting everybody in, you can't differentiate between the people that you do need space from versus the ones you do want in your space, right?
Yeah.
And they also don't get to show up. This boundaries are the kindest thing we can do for other people too. Because when people come in, if there's a if there's a boundary, there's also a gate, right? And people get to come through that gate, close it, and they get to show up as their best selves in our space. They get to show up in a way that they respect. What? Heck yeah, let's do with that, right? And so our boundaries work for other people as well. But if somebody's coming up to my property line, looking at my fence, and they grab it and they're sitting there shaking it, even though it's like anchored down, cemented, all that stuff, this boundary line needs to change, blah, 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 right? I'm not going to change where the fence goes just because somebody demands it, right?
Yeah.
If somebody comes in and quote unquote bulldozes my boundaries, well, guess what? They're going to fix the fence at their own dime. They're going to get the bulldozer out, right? And they're going to be offering me a mighty hefty apology, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to change where my boundary is simply because somebody else expects it or demands it. That would be silly. We
Yeah.
wouldn't change our own boundary line at our house. We wouldn't move our fences just because somebody demanded it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, when somebody from my church group or somebody like one of my kids' friends comes walking through my front gate or even my front door, oh, they're so welcome. Heck yeah, let's party. Let's have a fun time. Like I love that you're here, right? Somebody
Yeah.
comes soliciting to my door, I'm gonna be like, hey, thanks so much. I appreciate what you do. I really, really admire people that have the guts to go knocking on everybody's door. Not for me though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We just the thing is too is when you understand yourself, you understand the conversations you need to have with people, and you're not afraid to have those conversations with people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's scarier to live outside of your values and who you say you are than it is to people please, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I love this. You're fantastic.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
can you share a time when a strong boundary changed your personal, or let's do business since we talked about personal stuff already, changed your business for the better? Like what was the boundary you set up
Yes.
as well?
Yes. So I'll tell you, in 2023, my business created, I want to say roughly about $25,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. Like I'm super grateful for it, right? But $25,000 for a year is still technically poverty, right? I wanted to do a lot more, especially because I want to do more for my clients. I want to do a lot more for my family, etc. And so, in 2024, though, my business went to 100,000. It four times itself, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because of one boundary. And the boundary was I refuse to get flustered or emotionally attached to money in any way, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you something, like that year I had probably about $30,000 in debt, right? Plus, I'm also paying for my business expenses, coaching, all these things, all these expenses coming up. And I could have been, and before I would have been like, crap, I've got all these bills. I've got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this, right?
Yeah.
And I had to stop and ask myself, hold on a second. What do I value? I value peace more than the anxiety,
Yeah.
right? I value freedom. I value, um, goodness, I'm trying to think like all of a sudden, like all these things are coming in all at once. But like I'm
Family and
valuing,
health and the
yes,
usual.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Like all these things. I value being able to sleep at night. There's that one too, right?
That's my
And
favorite. That's my favorite boundary now.
I like
I
I
love
like
sleeping.
sleep, right? I
Yeah.
value my health. I value a lot of things, and is the way I am reacting to not having enough money to pay this bill is the way I'm reacting to that in alignment with that value. And I had to be honest with myself. No, it's not. Right?
Yeah.
Because what is the tendency that we do? Like if we have this bill coming up and we can't pay it, we get really freaked out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Say we've got a car loan. We don't pay it. Well, yeah, they're going to probably come up and repossess the car. I get like where we're like, ah, freaking out, right? I get it. But I had to come like way back and I had to say, will life go on? Yes. Will I be able to create something like that again? Yes. Right? Will it teach me something I probably need to know? Yes. Am I willing to learn those lessons? Yes. Can I still respect myself, even if I can't pay the bill? Yes. Right? So what ended up happening is I called these crediting agencies and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't have the cash right now. I am working on it. Um, once I have it, I will pay you." And yeah, they slapped me with late fees. They like my credit is probably not the greatest at the moment, but what ended up happening is because I refused to worry about the money, I just got in and started creating it because here's the deal. Either way, we have to create the money. We can create it with anxiety or we can create it with trusting ourselves. Anxiety is a lack of self-trust,
Yeah.
right? And so I just made the decision right there. I'm not going to choose in with worry. I'm not going to choose in with anxiety. I know that life is going to go on. I can deal with life. No matter what's thrown at me, I can deal with life, right?
Yeah.
And I got in and I started creating the cash. I started creating money and I paid off $30,000 in debt in 2 months,
That's amazing.
right?
Yeah.
And isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that's probably my one of my biggest money boundaries is I refuse to approach money with anxiety or
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that um I always tell people, like I always tell my coaching clients when they're stressed, like, well, what if this happens? Like, especially like with visibility, like, what if this happens? I'm like, what is worst case scenario? Like, actually think about and like figure out what worst case scenario is. Like, they're going to repossess a car if, I don't pay the bill. That's worst case scenario. And it probably didn't happen. Like, you were probably able to get on top of it and it was fine. But I feel like if you think about worst case scenario, how you would handle it, would you still have respect for yourself? Would you still be able to like make money? Like, I don't know if you do everything from home, but like, would you still be
Mhm.
able to like live and like not be homeless and whatever? Like, then you're going to be okay. Like, just let it
Yeah.
go and work through it. So I love that.
Well, well, one of my biggest bills, like totally transparent here, was actually the computer that I'm talking to you on. All right. Like this is an expensive computer, and I was really good at making the bills and paying the bill on time, and then all of a sudden I wasn't,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't because I didn't want to be. I value honesty. I value making sure that I'm honest with transactions and
Yeah.
monetary transactions. I value
Yeah.
that. But if it's not possible, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Well, yes, I just about had my computer repossessed. I actually did. And I thought to myself, well, business is going to be a bit harder,
Yeah.
right? If
Without the tools. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a bit harder, but could I create this again? Yes,
Yeah.
right? Could I create it and not have to go into debt for it again? Oh, that would feel awesome, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I started thinking and focusing instead on the creation process of it
Yeah. And
and
trusting yourself.
loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if we get into creation with anxiety, we approach our clients anxiously, we approach business anxiously, we're like begging for money and we get into that pauper mindset. But we're
Yeah.
not the pauper, we're actually even higher than I feel like we're higher than a princess. Really honestly think like we're goddesses, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
How does that person think? She's
Yeah.
not worried about the money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Sorry. Alexa, turn off. I'll crop that out.
It's okay.
She turns on automatically at 12:30.
It's all good. I totally understand this. Like we're lucky right now. Usually I have kids screaming in the background or plunking on the piano or something. So
Yeah.
we're good. We're good. I totally get it.
But back to our goddesses. So we're not.
Yes. But my seven-figure self, she's not worried about money. She already knows it's there. She knows it's
Yeah.
coming in,
Yeah.
right? She knows it's consistently coming in,
Yeah.
right? That's what she thinks. That's what she focuses on,
Yeah.
right?
And I have a business coach who recently mentioned that she focused so much on strategy, and it wasn't that she needed to. Like, you actually do need to focus on the mindset, because the mindset is where like the magic happens. Yeah, you have to have systems in place, but like you can't strategize everything. If you don't have the mindset to like show up, then nothing's going to happen. Doesn't matter how great your strategy is. But if you don't have like the
Yes.
mindset of boundaries, you don't have the mindset of showing up, then you're not going to go anywhere. So
So exactly. Like that's what
yeah.
actually unravels the consistency. So like
Yeah.
people, my clients come to me, I hear this all the time. They're like, I have been doing every single thing right. I've done everything that my coaches have told me. I have gotten in, I've done the work, I've been consistent with the work. I don't know why this isn't working, right? Well, I asked them a couple of questions, and actually just yesterday I had a conversation with one of them, and again, it's a mindset thing, right?
Yeah.
Because she was like, I love being dependable. And I'm like, cool. Like dependability is your value, right? Like I get that. And she's like, but I'm the only one in my family that's dependable. And I said, okay, cool. Do you also value being honest? Yeah, I'm really valuing honesty. And I said, okay, do you understand that people pleasing is making those two things, the dependability and the honesty, have to war with each other instead of work together? And when she, like when I said it that way, she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, no wonder why I felt like I've had to like drop everything and like rush to people's aid. Like, no wonder why I feel like yanked in every single place, right?
Yeah.
When we don't hold to our boundaries, it literally separates us from ourselves in a mental, emotional way, right?
Yeah.
This is where we abandon ourselves. And so we have a part of us that is betraying us and the other part of us feeling betrayed by us. And it's like
You're at war with yourself.
yes, you're at war with yourself. This
Yeah.
is where we get that. And why would a person who's at war with themselves create money for themselves? Subconsciously, they won't.
Yeah.
We will not subconsciously create anything we don't think we deserve.
Yeah. I agree. And in my head, there's a particular person that I won't call out, that I'm related to, that I'm like, this is their problem. So I don't know if I can convince him to watch my show that's all about women, but I might just send him a link. Because I feel like he is a war himself, and he has been for 50 whatever years. And I feel like, yeah. Anyway, moving right
It's
along.
all good. We all have that one person, right? Like I have somebody in my life whom I love dearly. I think she's amazing, right? But she has those emotional ups and downs. We all do.
Yeah.
Hers are just a little bigger than most.
Yeah.
We'll say that. Okay. And you know, she the other day she came flying at me. She was so mad at me. And I was sitting here just minding my own business, right? But she started calling me out as being a bad mom, like because I'm heading out to South Carolina next week for a client retreat, right?
Yeah.
How dare you abandon your kids? Your kids need you right now. Mothers don't leave their children. I'm like, not leaving them. I'm
coming
coming
back.
back, right? And like, what a better opportunity for them to understand that they've got their own backs when than mom not always having to be here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also,
Right?
I think it's important that kids get to see their parents kind of chasing their dreams, and like
Yes.
sometimes you have to make the sacrifice to leave for a week to like move forward with whatever. So I think it's important that they see that too. So
Well,
there's
you talk
arguments
about
on both sides.
my 15-year-old son, let me tell you something, because he's watched me do this, right? He has built himself his own laptop with, not laptop, sorry, his own desktop with his own money,
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
He went and got all the components, built it all himself because he's watched me go after my dreams. He's done the same thing,
Yeah.
right? I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
And I'm watching my other kids catch on to this idea too, because they see other people around them and they're like, I don't want that. That is not what I want, right?
Yeah.
And then they watch me, who gets to make a connection with a lot of different people, who gets to go to South Carolina. Last summer, I went to Oregon and spent a week with a wonderful client. And, creating my dreams. They get to watch me do it and they get to watch me work hard at it.
Yeah.
And they're like, Mom's happy. I want what Mom's got.
Yeah.
So they start working on their dreams. They come to me with their dreams. And, we get to have fabulous conversations around what they want. And we get to brainstorm about the things that they want. Heck yeah, I want that for my kids. Right? But more than
Yeah.
it, like, not more than anything, I actually really want that for my kids more than anything, but I also want that for my clients,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is why I say, like, the mindset is really important, because had I not had the mindset of, I love who I am as a mom, I love who I am as a business owner, I love who I am as a daughter of God, I love who I am, right? And I get to lean into that. If I didn't have that mindset, well, when somebody comes up and tries to pour their verbal acid on my goals and dreams and aspirations, that might shut me down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is so there's 7 different types of boundaries. You have your listening, talking, physical, sexual, energetic, time and money boundary, right? And the truth of the matter is your listening boundary is going to be key when it comes to things like that, because you ask yourself, is this true? Is this not true? Or do I need more information? Right? But
Yeah.
if you think something is true and it's taking you down a path that you don't want to go down, well, then you need to second guess that truth. You need to second guess what you think as true, right? Because I look back to when I was depressed. I almost committed suicide twice. Like, it was bad. It was really, really bad. Couldn't get out of bed to change my son's diaper, right? And so my baby is sitting here. I couldn't feed my other 2 kids because I couldn't get out of bed. And so my kids are hungry. My baby is sitting there crawling on the floor in this massively disgusting diaper. And I feel like there's nothing I can do, right? So I go from that. But back then, that was my mentality. Something's wrong with me. I can't fix me. I'm worthless. I'm not lovable. There's nothing I can do about it. Right? 2, nope. I think I'm a pretty fantastic human. I love who I am. I love what I do. I love what I can explain to people, right? And immediately that was, yeah, that's not true. Okay.
I was going to ask, what was your biggest shift from, like, I mean, maybe that's too personal. Like, what helped
Oh,
you
go ahead.
pull yourself out of that far into depression to where you are now? Obviously, we're talking years here.
Yeah, yeah, I know. This has been like 15
Yeah.
years, easily
So give
15
us maybe
years.
one or
Yeah.
two that were the biggest.
I can tell you the biggest shift was I brought everything to God. And when I mean everything, I meant the barracuda, right? That is literally what I felt like. I felt like a barracuda. I was angry. I was vicious. I was mean. Everything I had been taught in all my years as a Christian to not do in a conversation with God. Oh, I totally did it. I swore at him. I told him he's a horrible God. Like, how dare he think he can be a God? Like, I was not respectful at all in that conversation. And what was amazing, that was my all. In that moment, that was my all. That's all I had.
Yeah.
And I gave it all to God. I literally did. I threw it at him, right?
Yeah.
I hurled it at him like you would knives. But he didn't distance himself from me at all. He
Yeah.
just caught every single knife and he put it down and he just caught the next one and put it down, and super masculine in the way that he did it, just creating space for me to be what I needed to be in that moment, right?
Yeah.
If the greatest being in the universe didn't judge me for being a barracuda, why the heck was I doing it? Right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? What did he see that I wasn't seeing?
Yeah. I
This is what I
love,
call, go
I,
ahead.
s- I was going to say, I love that for you in the most like not sarcastic way. Like I love that. And I love that you like turn to your beliefs in like your darkest moment and felt relief from that. So,
Yeah. Well, no, it really is. And every single time, I'll also say this, like every single time that I have up leveled, right? Or said I'm going to go this direction or I want to do this in my life, there's always been that level of, okay, leaning into God again, doing his will again,
yeah.
right? Just leaning into that again because it's literally putting on the God goggles. This is what I say. He showed me what he created. After I was finally able to clear all of that fuzz out because he took it. He took it and he just put it down, didn't judge me, right? Then he was finally able to show me what he created, not what other people wanted me to be. See, I dealt with and I will say this, like I love my family, I love my parents and everything. I have a great relationship with them now. But I definitely have dealt with, a lot of abuse and things like that from my childhood. And when you have that, you tend to have like the people-pleasing tendencies. And sometimes even they still pop up for me. Like I'm going to be honest, it gets so ingrained in your brain. Just
Yeah.
when you notice them and you realize, ooh, that's out of alignment for me, I am coming back. Right in my lane. I'm staying in my lane. Um, he shows you the next best version of yourself. So what he showed me was this person who would sit on the bench with somebody in heaven who was maybe having a hard time, like what am I going to be doing in life? Like how am I going to conquer like accomplish this in life? Like I don't know if I can do it. And showing them like what their strengths were and why they could, right?
Yeah.
Or reminding people who they were, showing them their potentials, right? And burning bright and being someone who literally was able to light people up. And I left that vision in awe of myself. That was the most humbling moment I've ever experienced in my life, was the shift from what I saw to what God saw, right? But if I'm going to be this person and remember and step into, okay, I'm going to be what you created me to be, right? That meant I had to shift my vision because I do value God. I think somewhere, even though I was angry at him, throwing all those verbal knives, thinking he was the worst excuse for a God out there, right? I still believed that there was something out there that was bigger than me,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I call our highest form of love. Other people say higher power and things like that, but I still say highest form of love is probably the most accurate version. And if you can connect to what love is, that thing out there in the universe that understands you, right, gets you completely. It created you. It literally understands you to the molecular level. It understands how many hairs are in your head. It understands when your teeth are going to fall out. It understands when the next pimple's going to pop out of your face. Like, it created a banana in Ecuador for you, right? Knowing that you were going to eat it, filled it with nutrition for your body, sent it to your grocery store so you could buy it, put it on your table, and then eat it. Like, that is what I'm talking about with that type of love.
Yeah.
If we see ourselves as undeserving from love, it detaches us from who we truly are. And even like the people pleasing, we detach from love when we do that. Every single time. It is impossible to not detach from love. It's not possible to be in love. That
Yeah.
is acting out of fear, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding what love really was, connecting to how loved I truly was, and how I am love, right? Well, now all of a sudden I have all these characteristics that I value inside of myself: respect, honesty, um, valor, uh, vulnerability, right? Loving, plus many, many, many other characteristics. Because I love those pieces of myself so deeply, I don't want to go outside of that, right?
Yeah.
So I get really clear with my emotions when something comes up. I ask myself, okay, why is that there? What was the temptation to get me off of my path, right?
Yeah.
And as I keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, eventually I reach the voice of my self-compassion. Your emotions are the voice of your self-compassion.
Yeah.
And in there, we can always find some type of a boundary, right? So like the lady that told me I was a bad mom, right? And I'm like, yeah, no. At first, though, I was really like, are you kidding me? Like, you have no idea what I do for my kids on a daily basis. Like, you little poop.
Right.
Right? I
Just
was
because
kind of
you
ticked.
see the outside that I'm leaving for a week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Like, good grief, I just created 250 cinnamon rolls last Sunday so my son could go to prom. Like, don't call me a bad mom. Right?
Yeah.
And I got thinking about this. I'm like, okay, why am I so frustrated? Right? Why do I feel so frustrated? Because I know this isn't true, but yet I'm feeling pulled into the story. So what is it that's pulling me in? As I got deeper and deeper and deeper into it, I realized honesty. My honesty is being called into question. Well, I've already made the boundary that I'm an honest person. And honest without feeling guilty about their reaction because that is their choice, right? That is their, really seriously, their freedom, their right
Right.
to act in any way they feel if they don't like my boundary or like what I say, right?
Yeah.
So, but I knew that I needed to be honest. So I responded with honesty and respect and love, because love is respectful, love is honest, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to yell at her. I'm not going to call her names, right? But all I simply said was, you know what? I feel like that was out of character for you, right? I really feel like you calling me a bad mom is out of character for you because you're somebody that actually does know the truth. And yet you're totally diving into a lie. Is it because you're not handling your stress well and throwing it on me? Like, why are you acting out of character for yourself, right? And immediately, almost immediately, they were like, oh my gosh, you're right. I am so out of line here, right? And getting clearer, they were just really concerned because they've seen like all of the flights that are crashing lately, and like,
Right.
and they're worried about like their kid, like my kids being without a mom for the rest of their life, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, they're still surrounded by love,
Yeah.
right? No matter
Yeah.
what happens, like, even let's go down that rabbit hole for a second. Even if I did die in a fiery plane crash, right? Don't plan on it. We'll be praying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if they did, are you going to tell me that you're not going to be there for them?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell
Your
me,
husband wouldn't
or
be
my
there for you.
husband, or that they're not going to be there for each other, or
Right.
that they're still not going to have people out there that love them? And are you going to tell me that even though I might not be there in physical presence, that I'm not going to still be there,
Yeah.
right? It'll be different, but different doesn't always mean bad. And
Yeah.
oftentimes from our tragedies do we find our triumphs,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes like it's like I'm really grateful for a lot of the tragedies I've faced in my life because they brought me to who I am. I'm really proud of the way I've shown up in
Yeah.
my tragedies, right? They
Yeah.
brought out the true person. What a
Yeah.
wonderful thing.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention about like boundaries is I feel like when we all of a sudden get caught off guard by a strong emotion, I feel like a boundary's getting pushed or crossed. And so I feel like sometimes that's a good way to like recenter yourself and be like, okay, like you said, you're kind of like, okay, why is she saying this? Okay, she's pushing a boundary because she's stressed or she's upset or whatever. And I think it's good if we're like in tune with ourselves to, and maybe you don't have that boundary set up yet. And maybe it's when you need to set up, but sometimes it's nice to kind of like feel the emotion and then like recognize that it's something that needs to be discussed
Yeah,
nicely.
exactly. And I look at this and I'm like, I don't I don't call it pushing boundaries. Like, it's more like they're not paying attention to where they're going and they totally trip over my boundary. It's more
Yeah.
like what happens because you can absolutely build an unbreakable boundary. It is absolutely a possibility if your boundaries are staying with you. So somebody
Yeah.
might call your character into question. Somebody might
Yeah.
be messy. Somebody might accidentally trip all over you. Somebody might word vomit on you,
Yeah.
right? Like, those things do happen, but that's not breaking your boundary. You acting in any way out of alignment with who you truly are is.
Yeah.
And this is why we get to build the unbreakable boundary, right?
Yeah.
Because we can say to somebody like, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop you right there. I can tell that this is really, really important to you. But the way you're handling it right now, all I can hear is the yelling and the screaming and the shouting and the shame. That's not what you're really trying to communicate to me. So when you can calm down and you can really think about the message you need me to hear, we'll chat,
Yeah.
right? Because that's still respectful. I do want to hear what
Yeah.
they have to say,
Yeah.
but not in that way,
Yeah.
right?
I
Right?
agree.
And I can never be responsible for another person's emotions. Can I influence them? Yes, just like somebody's influencing mine. But if they're influencing mine to the point where something's coming up, your emotion's just there to get your attention.
Yeah.
It is the pathway between your subconscious and your conscious. It's trying to get something to the conscious mind,
Yeah.
right? It's trying to push something up. So if we are just simply aware, oh, okay, that's kind of frustrating. I'm feeling a little disrespected. I kind of want to slap her. Like, we can admit that, right? Don't do it. Don't
Right.
actually act on that, but
Yeah.
you can admit something like that to yourself.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and we can find out what is that one boundary. And I had a client, one of hers was, I'm not going to be manipulated, right? I refuse to be manipulated. Her mom was somebody that was very manipulative and demanded things from her. And when she made that boundary, that's all she had to do is just say, Mom, this feels manipulative. I'm not going to be manipulated. When you
Yeah.
want to talk to me about like what it is you really want, why you're actually afraid, and you can own your emotions and your thoughts and not throw them on me, let's chat, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to help you, but I can't help you where you're at right now, right? She has implemented this boundary beautifully. It's created more money in her business because she also refuses to be manipulated by her employees, her clients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's created more in her business than she ever has,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Because one
simply,
boundary.
yeah, all because of one boundary. And
Yeah.
you'll notice if it's a right boundary, if it's the proper one, because if you say it out loud, you'll notice the frustration, the fear, the anxiety, the anger,
Yeah.
whatever's around it starts to really, really, really cool,
Yeah. I
right?
love that. We got to wrap up. Is there anything real quick you want to share with our audience? And then I'll get your link and stuff so we can share that on the pages.
Yes. So I have a brand new program actually about building the unbreakable boundary where I'm going to go into more detail about like what is a boundary, how to build the unbreakable one, and how to use these in your business, right?
Perfect.
Because every female entrepreneur, they want to create more money, but they still want the connection with their family. They want the ideal client, right? They want to feel good in their business too, and to feel successful and to know that their business is working for them,
Yeah.
right? So I've created this course. I am creating this course. I'm saying this right now.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm creating it, it's a beta test. It's $600 off. And so
Perfect.
if somebody wants that, find me on Instagram, find me. I'm also on Bold Hearts Big Moves. That's my podcast. You guys can message me there.
Perfect.
Or on LinkedIn, like any of those places. Um, if you want that course, it's
Perfect.
available now. So
I love it. Okay. And then I will have you send me your links and stuff so I can put all that into our chat so people can easily just click on it. But thank you so
awesome.
much for being a guest.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so much fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. You are so welcome.
That's a wrap on this episode of Women Should Know. Did you love it? Then hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can also find me on social media under Women Should Know because the conversation doesn't stop here. I'll see you next time. Bye!